Welcome to Certified Data Engineer Associate DEA-C01 Practice Exam Number 2. You'll get 30 exam-style questions. I will read each question, then give you a 10-second countdown to review the answer choices on screen. Feel free to pause the video if you need longer. After each countdown, I will reveal the correct answer and explanation. Question 1. Northwind Marketing uses Amazon AppFlow to ingest customer engagement data from Salesforce into Amazon S3. The data contains customer email addresses and phone numbers that must be masked before landing in S3. The team wants to minimize custom code. Which AppFlow capability should the team configure? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. Amazon AppFlow includes built-in data transformation capabilities, including field mapping and data masking, that can be configured directly within the flow definition. This allows masking email addresses and phone numbers during data transfer without any custom code. AppFlow does not support Lambda transformations as part of its flow. That capability belongs to Amazon Data Firehose. Running a separate Glue ETL job adds operational complexity and means unmasked PII briefly lands in S3. Amazon Macy is a detection service that identifies PII but does not redact or mask data. Question 2. Fabricam Pharma needs to track all write operations performed on a specific Amazon S3 bucket that stores clinical trial results for regulatory audit purposes. The solution must capture every put object, delete object, and copy object operation with minimal operational effort. Which approach should the data engineer implement? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Oz CloudTrail with S3 data events provides comprehensive audit logging of all API-level operations on S3 objects, including put object, delete object, and copy object. By configuring the trail to filter for write-only data events on the specific bucket, the solution captures exactly the required operations with full details including the caller identity, timestamp, source IP, and request parameters. This creates an immutable audit trail suitable for regulatory compliance. S3 server access logging captures request details in log files but delivers logs on a best effort basis with potential delays and does not guarantee delivery of every log record, making it insufficient for regulatory audit. S3 event notifications can trigger on object-level events but do not provide the detailed audit information, caller identity, source IP, IAM details required for compliance auditing. Oz Config monitors bucket-level configuration changes, such as policy modifications, but does not track individual object-level operations. Question 3. A data engineer at Fabricam Insurance is troubleshooting an AWS Glue ETL job that runs on a daily schedule. The job processes new insurance claims from S3, but after modifying the S3 input path in the script while keeping the same transformation CTX parameter, the job started skipping all files in the new path. Job bookmarks are enabled. What is the root cause and how should the engineer fix this? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. The transformation CTX parameter indexes bookmark state per data source within a Glue job. When the S3 input path changes but the transformation CTX remains the same, the job bookmark associates the existing state with the new path and treats all files as already processed. The fix is to either update the transformation CTX to a new value for the new source path, which creates fresh bookmark state, or reset the job bookmark entirely using the Reset Job Bookmark API. KMS key rotation does not cause this specific behavior of skipping files. Glue crawlers and data catalog updates are independent of how job bookmarks track processed files. Worker memory has no relation to bookmark-based file skipping behavior. Question 4. Fabricam Retail has a DynamoDB table with a composite primary key, customer ID as partition key, order date as sort key. Business analysts frequently need to query orders by product category across all customers. The table contains 50 million items and grows by 2 million items per month. The data engineer needs to enable these queries with minimal impact on write performance and storage costs. Which approach should the data engineer use? Select 1, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. A global secondary index with product category as the partition key enables efficient queries across all customers by product category. Using keys-only projection minimizes storage costs and write overhead, since each base table write that changes an indexed attribute incurs an additional write to the GSI. The base table keys are always projected automatically, allowing the application to fetch full items from the base table when needed. A local secondary index cannot change the partition key, so it cannot support cross-customer queries by product category. All projection would double storage costs unnecessarily. Scan operations with filter expression read the entire table and do not reduce read capacity consumption, making them inefficient for 50 million items. Question 5. A data engineering team has non-urgent ETL jobs that process large amounts of data and can tolerate variable start and run times. They want to minimize cost. Which AWS Glue execution option should they use? Select 1 answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. AWS Glue Flex runs jobs on spare compute capacity in AWS rather than dedicated hardware, which significantly reduces costs for non-time-sensitive workloads like testing and one-time data loads. Since spare capacity availability can vary, start and run times may fluctuate, but this trade-off is acceptable for non-urgent jobs. AWS Glue Standard uses dedicated resources that are always available, providing consistent runtimes but at a higher cost, making it appropriate for time-sensitive production workloads rather than non-urgent jobs. AWS Glue development endpoints are provisioned environments for developing and testing ETL scripts interactively and are not intended for running production jobs. AWS Glue Streaming ETL is designed for continuous, real-time stream processing rather than batch workloads. Question 6. Fabricam e-commerce has an AWS Glue ETL job that processes customer orders from S3. The job runs daily and uses job bookmarks to track processed files. After a recent job failure, the team restarted the job but discovered that some orders were processed twice, creating duplicate records in the target Redshift table. The team confirmed that job bookmarks were enabled. What is the most likely cause of the duplicate processing? Select 1, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Job bookmarks require both job.init at the start and job.commit at the end of a successful run to properly update the track state. If the previous run failed before calling job.commit, the bookmark state was not updated to reflect the files already processed. When the job restarted, it reread the same files from the last committed bookmark position, causing duplicates. The paused state is an intentional configuration that processes new data without updating state, but this must be explicitly set. Job bookmarks fully support S3 sources by tracking file modification timestamps. There is no documented maximum file tracking limit that would cause this behavior. Question 7. Contoso Retail has deployed Amazon Redshift serverless and wants to perform near real-time analytics on clickstream data flowing through Amazon Kinesis data streams. The data engineer needs to configure streaming ingestion so that data arrives in Redshift without intermediate S3 staging. The clickstream records are in JSON format with some records exceeding 64 KB in size. Which approach should the data engineer use to configure the materialized view? Select 1, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. Creating an external schema from Kinesis and using JSON parse to convert records into Redshift superdata type is the recommended approach for streaming ingestion. JSON parse processes each record once regardless of how many fields are extracted, and it has no data size limitation. PartyQL can then be used to extract individual fields from the super representation efficiently. JSON extract path text has a 64 KB maximum data size limit, which would cause errors for the larger clickstream records, and also reparses the entire JSON for each extracted column, causing performance degradation. Using Firehose with S3 staging introduces intermediate storage and higher latency, contradicting the requirement to avoid S3 staging. A Lambda function inserting records via the data API would not scale to handle high-throughput clickstream data and adds significant operational complexity. Question 8. A data engineer at Fabricam Financial is designing a real-time data pipeline using Amazon Kinesis data streams. The stream has 10 shards and serves 3 consumer applications. 2 consumers are standard shared throughput consumers, and the third is a latency-sensitive fraud detection application requiring sub-100 ms delivery. The data engineer notices that the fraud detection consumer frequently receives provision throughput exceeded exception errors. What is the most effective solution? Select one, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Enhanced Fanout provides dedicated 2 MB/s read throughput per consumer per shard via the Subscribe to Shard API using HTTP/2PUSH, eliminating contention with other shared consumers. This also reduces latency from approximately 200 ms to approximately 70 ms, meeting the sub-100 ms requirement. Doubling shards increases costs significantly and does not solve the contention problem since shared consumers still split the 2 MB/s per shard among themselves. Increasing polling frequency would actually worsen the throttling since shared consumers are limited to 5 getRecords calls per second per shard. The Kinesis producer library is for writing data to streams, not consuming data. Question 9. Litware e-commerce has a Redshift data warehouse with a large fact table containing 5 billion sales transactions and a small dimension table with 500 product categories. The analytics team frequently runs queries that join these 2 tables. The queries are slow because of significant data redistribution during joins. Which combination of distribution styles should the data engineer apply to optimize query performance? Select one, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. Key distribution on the large fact table using the join column, product category ID, ensures that rows with the same category are co-located on the same node slices. All distribution on the small dimension table places a complete copy of the 500-row table on every node, eliminating the need for data redistribution during joins. This combination provides the fastest join performance. Even distribution on both tables would cause data redistribution during every join. All distribution on the 5 billion row fact table is impractical as it would multiply storage by the number of nodes. While auto distribution might eventually optimize, explicit key and all distribution for this well-understood join pattern provides immediate and predictable performance improvement. Question 10. A data engineer is building an ingestion pipeline to transfer data from various on-premises file systems to an S3-based data lake managed by lake formation. The pipeline must split data across multiple S3 buckets in near real time. Which solution is most operationally efficient? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. AWS DEA-C is specifically designed to accelerate large-scale data transfers from on-premises storage systems to AWS storage services, including Amazon S3. It automates scheduling, network optimization, integrity verification, and supports specifying multiple target S3 locations in separate tasks, fulfilling the near real-time distribution requirement without custom development. Snowcone is a physical edge device for offline data transfer and is unnecessary when network-based transfer is feasible. S3 replication time control improves cross-region replication speed for objects already in S3, but does not handle initial on-premises ingestion. Data Firehose is optimized for streaming data from producers like Kinesis and applications, not for bulk migration from on-premises file systems. S3 Batch Operations is designed for operations on existing S3 objects such as copying or tagging, not for initial data ingestion from on-premises environments. Question 11. A data engineer at Litware Technologies needs to build an event-driven pipeline where files arriving in an S3 bucket must be processed by a Lambda function and the results stored in DynamoDB. The pipeline must handle processing failures by routing failed events to a dead letter queue and sending successful results to an SNS topic for downstream consumers. Which AWS service provides this event routing capability with the laced custom code? Select one, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. Lambda asynchronous invocation with destinations provides built-in routing of success and failure events to different targets without any custom routing code. S3 event notifications trigger Lambda asynchronously by default, and Lambda destinations can route successful invocation results to SNS and failed invocations to an SQS dead letter queue. This requires zero custom routing code. Using try-catch blocks within Lambda code requires writing and maintaining custom error handling and routing logic. Event bridge pipes requires S3 events to go through event bridge first and adds complexity for a simple point-to-point processing pattern. Step functions adds orchestration overhead for what is a straightforward single-function processing pipeline with success and failure routing. Question 12. A data engineer at Northwind Healthcare needs to implement encryption for an Amazon Redshift cluster that stores patient health records. The security team requires full audit trails of all encryption key usage and the ability to rotate keys on a custom schedule. Which encryption approach meets these requirements? Select one, review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. A customer-managed KMS key provides full audit trails through AWS CloudTrail, which logs every API call made to KMS, including encrypt, decrypt, and generate data key operations. Customer-managed keys also allow configuring automatic key rotation on a custom schedule between 90 and 60 days, meeting the security team's requirement for custom rotation schedules. AWS-managed KMS keys rotate automatically every year, but do not allow custom rotation schedules and provide less granular control over key policies. Client-side encryption before loading into Redshift would prevent Redshift from querying the data effectively, since the compute engine cannot decrypt data it did not encrypt. CloudHSM provides hardware-based key management, but adds operational complexity and cost beyond what is required when KMS customer-managed keys meet all stated requirements. Question 13. A multinational corporation streams real-time financial transaction data to a Kinesis data stream for third-party auditors to analyze. Each auditor may require different schemas based on their standards. The corporation needs centralized schema management and versioning across the entire stream. Which solution is most effective? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. AWS Glue Schema Registry provides a central repository for storing, versioning, and managing schema definitions. Both producers and consumers can validate records against the registered schema using Glue APIs or the KPL and KCL libraries, ensuring records conform to the expected structure and enabling controlled schema evolution over time. Storing schemas in S3 with Lambda validation requires triggering a function per record, which is costly and does not scale well for high-volume streams. Glue ETL jobs process data in batch or microbatch mode and are not designed for real-time schema validation at ingestion time. DynamoDB can store schema metadata, but does not provide the built-in versioning and governance capabilities of Glue Schema Registry. Question 14. Contoso Logistics has an on-premises NFS file server with 80 TB of historical shipping records that must be migrated to Amazon S3. The migration must complete within 2 weeks, and the company has a 1 Gbps direct connect link to AWS. The data must be encrypted in transit and at rest. Network bandwidth for the migration must not exceed 500 Mbps to avoid disrupting production traffic. Which service should the data engineer use? Select one. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. AWS DataSync is designed for high-speed online data transfer, supporting up to 10 Gbps, with built-in bandwidth throttling to limit network utilization to a specified rate. An on-premises DataSync agent installed on a VMware or Linux host connects to the NFS file server and transfers data to S3 over the Direct Connect link. DataSync includes automatic encryption in transit using TLS, data integrity verification with checksums, and scheduling capabilities. With 500 Mbps bandwidth, approximately 80 TB can be transferred in about 13 days, meeting the 2-week deadline. AWS Transfer Family is designed for ongoing file transfer workflows using SFTP/FTPS protocols, not bulk one-time migrations. A Snowball Edge device would require shipping time that may not meet the 2-week deadline, and the existing Direct Connect link makes online transfer feasible. The AWS CLI S3 Sync command lacks built-in bandwidth throttling, scheduling, and optimized transfer capabilities. Question 15. A data engineer at Northwind Corp needs to configure a Glue ETL job that runs inside a VPC to access both an RDS PostgreSQL database and S3. The VPC has private subnets only with no NAT gateway, which networking configuration allows the Glue job to access both resources. Select 2. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are option A and option C. When a Glue ETL job runs inside a VPC, it requires an S3 gateway endpoint with a root in the VPC root table to access S3, since there is no NAT gateway for internet access. Gateway endpoints are free and provide private connectivity to S3 without leaving the AWS network. The Glue Connections security group must include a self-referencing inbound rule allowing all TCP traffic from itself, because Glue workers communicate with each other within the VPC, and this rule enables that internode communication. An S3 interface endpoint private link would work but costs $0.01 per AZ per hour, whereas the gateway endpoint is free. The gateway endpoint is the recommended approach. Adding an internet gateway to a VPC with only private subnets does not enable internet access without public subnets and root table changes, and would be a security concern. VPC peering to an S3 service VPC is not a valid architecture. S3 is accessed through endpoints, not VPC peering. Question 16. Northwind Energy collects IoT sensor data from 10,000 wind turbines, generating 500,000 events per second. The data must be stored in S3 in Parquet format with dynamic partitioning by turbine region and event date. The solution must require minimal operational overhead. Which ingestion approach should the data engineer use? Select 1. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option C. Amazon Data Firehose provides a fully managed solution that handles format conversion from JSON to Parquet using a Glue data catalog schema definition, and supports dynamic partitioning via JQ expressions to create S3 prefixes based on record content. This requires no infrastructure management, auto-scales with traffic, and delivers data with near real-time latency. A KCL consumer application requires managing EC01 instances, writing custom Parquet serialization code, and handling checkpoint management. A custom MSK consumer with Hadoop connector requires significant development and operational effort for Kafka cluster management. A Glue Spark streaming job is viable but requires configuring and managing DPUs, job bookmarks, and checkpoint intervals, which is more operational overhead than Firehose. Question 17. Contoso Healthcare is migrating a 2 TB Oracle database to Amazon Aurora PostgreSQL using AWS DMS. The source database contains tables with CLOB columns averaging 500 KB each. The migration must complete within a 48-hour maintenance window with minimal data loss. The data engineer needs to configure the DMS task for optimal performance during the full load phase. Which lob mode configuration should the engineer use? Select 1. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Inline lob mode combines the advantages of both full lob mode and limited lob mode. Since most CLOBs average 500 KB, setting inline lob max size to 512 KB allows the majority of lobs to be transferred inline efficiently, which is significantly faster than the lookup method. The few lobs exceeding 512 KB are handled via full lob mode lookup, ensuring no truncation occurs. Full lob mode would work correctly, but transfers all lobs using the slower lookup method, making the migration significantly slower and potentially exceeding the 48-hour window. Limited lob mode would truncate any lobs exceeding the configured maximum size, risking data loss. Disabling lob handling entirely would result in missing data and adds unnecessary complexity. Question 18. Adatum Publishing uses Amazon QuickSight dashboards for editorial analytics. The editors need access to a dashboard that shows real-time article performance metrics stored in Amazon Redshift. However, the Redshift cluster experiences heavy load during business hours from other analytical workloads. The team wants to ensure dashboard performance without impacting existing Redshift workloads. Which QuickSight configuration should the team use? Select 1. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option C. Direct query mode queries Redshift in real time for the most current data. Redshift concurrency scaling automatically adds transient cluster capacity when queries are queued, handling the additional dashboard load without impacting existing workloads. Each cluster gets 1 free hour of concurrency scaling credits per day per cluster. Spice with hourly refresh would not provide real-time metrics as the scenario requires. While a dedicated WLM queue could work, it allocates fixed slots from the existing cluster capacity, potentially impacting other workloads during peak hours. Spice with 15-minute full refresh is operationally expensive and still not truly real-time. Question 19. A company trains an ML model on a dataset containing PII stored in S3. The model must not use PII, and data must be encrypted with AWS KMS. Which 2 steps meet these requirements most cost-effectively? Select 2. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are option A and option D. AWS Glue Databrew provides a visual, no-code interface with built-in PII detection and masking transforms. A Databrew recipe job can identify and redact or replace PII values across the dataset without custom development, ensuring the ML model receives only anonymized data. Storing the dataset in S3 with SSC KMS ensures all data at rest is encrypted using a KMS-managed key, satisfying the encryption compliance requirement at the storage layer with minimal configuration. OpenSearch service with KMS encryption is designed for search and analytics use cases and is more expensive than S3 for simple encrypted data storage without analytical querying. SageMaker Data Wrangler can encode PII, but encoding merely changes the representation while keeping sensitive information present. It does not eliminate PII from the dataset as required. Amazon EMR supports custom PII masking scripts, but introduces cluster provisioning and management overhead, and is more expensive than Databrew for straightforward data masking tasks. Question 20. An organization needs to ingest data from external SaaS applications into Amazon S3 and analyze it with Amazon Redshift. Which AWS service meets this requirement with the least operational overhead? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. Amazon AppFlow is a fully managed integration service built specifically to move data between SaaS applications such as Salesforce, ServiceNow, and Slack and AWS services including S3 and Redshift. It provides native connectors, built-in data transformation capabilities, and multiple trigger options without requiring custom code or pipeline infrastructure. The service handles authentication, API rate limiting, and data format normalization automatically. Amazon Event Bridge is an event bus service for routing events between AWS services and applications. While it can trigger actions in response to SaaS events, it does not extract and deliver the underlying data to S3 or Redshift without additional custom development. MWAA is an orchestration service for Apache Airflow workflows that can coordinate data movement tasks, but requires deploying and managing an Airflow environment, writing DAG code, and configuring SaaS connectors manually. AWS Step Functions orchestrates sequences of AWS service calls, but does not include built-in SaaS connectors, and would require Lambda functions and custom integration code to extract data from external applications. That is the end of practice exam number 2. Review the questions you missed, then come back for the next batch.